Welcome everyone to the Pro Impact podcast series. And again, we are with the exciting guest speaker. Today with us is Meera, and Meera is wonderful expert in CX customer experience, and she also work as a coach, as a trainer. Now we are looking forward from her the insights on how we can improve customer experience and how we can learn more about culture. So, Meera, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Shweta. Thanks for having me on this podcast. You have a pretty comprehensive introduction, but maybe I can add just a little bit more detail.
Yes.
I currently run something called a participative studio called Art of the Matter, and after 18 years almost of corporate experience, I started Art of the Matter because I felt that there is a opportunity to really help organizations, teams to build definitely laser focused cultures on customers, right? So that's the reason I started this venture, and so I've been working towards actually bringing some of my expertise to the table on customer experience, on culture building. That's a little bit of my background.
Wow. I mean, you can see collaborative, experiential, space you have created. Like the name is Art of Metal. It's a very
Yes.
lovely name. So, Mira, describe, like, tell us your journey, like how you get into this, where from where you started.
Yeah, so I actually have been working in the customer experience space for many years now, Shweta, through my various organizations. I have spent almost, I would say, close to 12 or 12 plus years in customer experience as a function in different kind of organizations. So BFSI primarily, but also in other companies like Sodexo Food and Facilities Management. I worked as a brand consultant. And in my last stint, I also was a culture custodian of the organization in parallel with being the customer experience head. So this is core to what I do, and I've realized that being a customer experience function head is actually about being an evangelist. You have to get people to buy in to your philosophy of customer first, and that's really what I spent the last decade or so doing. And I think that there's huge value in bringing an outside perspective to something like this. So that's where the background of CX comes from for me.
Amazing. Like while working with different organizations, what you have understood about customer focus? Like I know, like customer service is around helping customers in their needs, like understanding their needs. So I want to know more, just about it. Like while you are in this industry, if someone want to be in this industry, how they can be into this industry?
So two parts to your question, right? The um, first one I think was how do organizations be more customer focused, correct?
Yes.
Right. So I think customer focus actually comes always from the culture at the top. Okay, so it is definitely a management function. It's usually a leadership function, and then trickles down to the rest of the organizations. How customer focused a company is very very reflective of the leadership of the organization. Um, I think basically employees um need to know that they are trusted to deliver good outcomes for the customer, right? That their managers will back them up. Okay, and that kind of conviction and that kind of empowerment is has to be created through systems. It doesn't come by itself. You can't just decide one day that, okay, listen, I'm going to just wake up and hire a bunch of people who are naturally customer focused. That's not how it works, right? You have to, in the system, inbuild policies and safeguards and backups and empowerment and tools and technology and everything to make sure that you're getting an amazing outcome for the customer. And this requires sacrifices, it requires choice, it requires intention, it requires investment. Okay, so organizations have to really align to this right from the top, and then it slowly starts to trickle down to the bottom. You have heard some of these like amazing stories around hotels and restaurants, right? Um, where a customer came in, they were maybe it was their birthday, they got an extra treat, right? So that treat costs money. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that every customer who comes in for their birthday will get a treat, but the employee has a discretion to offer one, right? And they also know that the manager will back them up on it, right? It is an expenditure from the organization's perspective, but it's an expenditure that they trust the employee to deliver. Okay, and that makes a difference. So those are the truly customer focused organizations. I remember once when I was and hospitality has is awash with these kind of stories. I think it's a great customer focused industry. I was interning at um, I was interning at a five-star hotel during I think it was Holland, and the couple mentioned that they were in India to adopt a baby. Okay, and when they left the room for whatever meeting that they had to go to, the manager actually got an extra crib placed in the room. They spent money to buy children's toys and place them in the room, and things like that. And this is nobody had to go for approvals. You didn't have to talk to somebody senior to be able to do this, right? It was within the discretionary power of the front office manager to do something like this. Okay, and you can believe me that that couple came back, right? He probably won their loyalty for the rest of their lives, right? Now that is a truly customer focused organization. Okay, and that's that. Because my core is in hospitality, maybe that's where a lot of this passion comes from. But yeah, that's the background.
I totally agree with you. It's like earning loyalty for life. I love
Yes.
this line exactly. In hospitality, it's a great example you have shared that if someone give gifts, it charge money. Still, they are giving a hospitality. They are being customer focused. They are going extra mile for their customers. Kind of. And amazingly, you have shared. So, if I talk about customer focused, it's different for different industries, I can guess. For example, hospitality, it's a different way of customer focused. For technical industry, corporate life, it's different. So, how you see customer focused for different industry level, that I want to ask. Yeah.
Uh, so there's no one uniform definition, okay? But I'll tell you what I believe in. I think customer experience is, as a function within an organization, is not about customer service.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, customer service typically is a team that responds to a customer when the customer asks for something or something is broken, right? So it's not a proactive service. Okay. The way I see customer experience is that you have two opportunities. One is that you can use customer experience as a strategic function to retain customers. So when something goes wrong, a customer experience team has a role in saying, okay, listen, let's fix this, right? This is going wrong over and over again. Let's fix this, or let's help a team who doesn't have the expertise to fix it. Okay. On the other hand, I think the primary role of the customer experience team is to actually, from product creation to end of life, play a role in how things are designed, right? So a customer experience function in a good organization should be involved and should be the gatekeeper, should be signing off on everything from how the product is designed, okay, to how the website functions, to how digital interfaces are designed, to pretty much everything that has a front-facing customer impact. Okay, how you refund a customer. Okay, in financial services, for example, how you refund a customer, how a digital screen looks. All of these are can become really big stress points or friction points, and a customer experience team usually is involved to some level. Okay, in either creating or signing off on some of these things.
Amazing. I mean, I can understand here that it's a journey. We are being as a customer experience expert. You have been in the journey with the customer of hand holding means
Yes.
front face with the customer, understanding their feedbacks, understand what they want, how they are looking forward, and according to those feedbacks, customer experience team collaborate with other teams and build those kind of screens, those kinds of dashboard or that experience, UI UX experience and whatever. So amazingly, you have shared this perspective of yours. I want to know more about it, like how leaders, inspire teams to think about customer first. I know it's like lots of companies have lots of leaders and managers. Um, they know everyone should be customer focused, but they miss. So, any three key points you want to mention here that these limitations are there? that leaders missed, being customer focused, and how they can inspire?
So, actually, the formula is pretty simple.
Okay.
Um, I think leaders need to walk the talk. Okay, so I cannot expect my team to be customer focused if I myself am not. I know this sounds very like a very sort of generic statement to make, but in practical terms, right? Am I the kind of leader who will say, listen, I will do this even if it costs extra? Okay, so it may cost me, say, 1 rupee more per, I don't know, kit being delivered to the customer, right? But that 1 rupee has a potential to really delight. Can I find a way to save that 1 rupee somewhere else and use it here? Am I making those choices as a leader actively and visibly to my team? Okay, so leaders really need to walk the talk here. Second is you need to meet customers. Okay, I think leaders don't meet customers very often. It's not. Yeah, it's not. I mean, how many CEOs do you know that actually sits down with their end customer,
I
right?
don't know. I have.
Yeah, how many? There are a lot of great examples of homegrown brands, right? Smaller organizations, up to like maybe like in the 100 crore kind of revenue range. You can see, like, for example, CEOs who are in store, right, who do events with their customers, who are actually on ground meeting customers, really understanding them. As companies grow, this stops. They start delegating work to managers. Okay, and little by little you kind of tend to lose touch with customers. It's not practical for them to be maybe in touch with customers that amount of the time. Okay, but I think it has to be a policy to meet a customer, I don't know, once a month, once a quarter, and a real customer, not a customer who happens to be in their friend circle, right? But a real customer, somebody who's shopping in their store, who is at an outlet, who's buying something online, get some feedback, get from somebody you don't know, right? And the third one is, I think you need to encourage your teams, especially your immediate teams, to be consumers. That means your team needs to live a life. They need to be able to watch cinema. Cinema is a great indicator of, trends. Right? Hindi cinema has always been a very reliable indicator of trends in the country. For example, like 12th Fail, okay, just encapsulated so beautifully this aspiration of the Indian consumer, right? Your immediate teams need to go out and live well-rounded, full lives and be consumers themselves, so that they can really understand what it means to be a consumer. Okay, how many of it, like, of your managers who are probably in the range of 35 to 40, how many of them actually understand what's going on with a 21-year-old, right? Unless they go to a mall and they see what people are buying, okay, or they go on a trip and they see what's happening in the world, or they consume the same content, right? How will they ever know? Okay, so you asked for three things. I think these are the three things. You need to walk the talk. Okay, you need to get your team to be consumers. Let them live good, well-rounded, full lives. Okay, and you need to meet consumers yourself, customers preferably, right? So these are the three things that I think can really make a difference.
I totally agree. Some aspects. I mean, I can say like three things you have shared is number first, is like leaders should meet. CEO should meet the team. I mean, meet the customers. Uh, Sometimes if I see the big industry is not possible, as you mentioned, but yes, the possibility is like people do nowadays surveys. They organize some workshops. They organize some experiential events where they showcase their products and understand the customer need better. So, like, according to you, like, is this the way the CEO can meet their customers? I am a little confused here. How a CEO can
Yeah.
meet the customers? Yeah.
Well, there are so many ways, right? So you're right. One great way is if your organization is setting up a stall somewhere, is in an event, is in an industry exhibition,
Yeah.
especially in the B2B market, right? There's nothing that stops you from being there and actually meeting customers,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, second is, why can't you invite customers to your office? Invite five of course it is. I mean, I worked in, let's say I'm the CEO of a bank.
Okay.
Why can't I? Just pick 5 customers and say, listen, can I host you for a tea? Just come in and have a chai with me and tell me how you experienced my services. What is stopping me as a CEO from doing that? Nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I listen to customer calls? I have a contact center that's dealing for like 40, 50,000, 1 lakh calls every day. Why can't I listen to the recordings of those calls as a CEO?
Yeah, that is
Right? Why can't I commission some market research and actually meet the customer myself? Okay, typically market research happens in a customer's home. Nothing stops me from going along. You know what does stop me is time, right? Resources, and the fact that nobody does it. So it's just not a done thing. Okay. Um, yeah, but I think it can be incredibly valuable.
I totally relate with it. I
Yeah,
mean,
and yeah, so these are some of the ways in which you can meet customers, stay active, understand what's happening in the market. Your as you grow um, in organizations and also as you get older, right? Your social circle or your immediate circle tends to reflect who you are. So it's a bit of a uh, you know it's a syndrome where it's like an echo chamber. It's your own views and your own points of view that are just being validated back to you, and it's a natural phenomenon, right? But you want to break that consciously if you're running a business and you want to really really understand the customer. And I think that takes effort, yes, but that's what it takes.
it's a great, I think, start where you can say there is a gap, there is a bridge. It is like you are telling the thing like to bridging the gap, and I think most of CEOs and companies are doing that, yeah,
Yeah.
through some initiatives. It's great that you also mentioned here that team live like customer of their own brand where they are working. Like if I am working in A or B C company, I should be using that product or I should be
Mhm.
using that service so that, and I myself, like, for me it's working or not. You know
Yeah.
that is a wonderful point I can understand here. Um, if we talk about AI, we can also include here AI to do these stuffs for us.
um, I mean, AI can automate some of this work for you at the moment.
Mhm.
Okay. But culture building at the moment, at least, okay, is not a task based activity.
Okay.
Culture building comes from inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
right? An entire organization behaves a certain way because they're inspired to feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm talking about happy, good, positive cultures, right? You want to be like your manager because you respect them and you feel like they bring purpose to your work, right? You feel like you're making an impact. You're empowered. Okay. These kind of tasks at the moment, I don't see it happening through AI. Of course, you can automate some of the the task based activities. So if you want to meet customers, sure, AI can help you set some stuff up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or AI can help you, I don't know, identify trends on patterns and data,
Yes.
right? So all of this can be done through AI. It'll tell you what is happening. It may not be able to really tell you why something is happening. Okay. I'll give you an example. So I used to work with a bank, and we had customers who were coming to our branch, and our scores were consistently dropping.
Uh-huh.
Right, they kept coming down, and the feedback we got in our surveys and in our forms, and a lot of other things, was that customers were feeling unsafe. Okay. Why should this happen in a bank branch? There's an armed guard at the door, right? Why should customers feel unsafe? Um, and this was a realization that I had because I went to some of these branches to observe what was really happening, like what patterns can I see. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we were just not able to crack the code. And then we realized that, I realized that one of the things that was happening is that the person behind me at the teller counter,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the branch is so crowded
Mm-hmm.
that the person right behind me can see how much cash the teller is giving me,
Okay.
right? And we identified that as potentially a reason why people feel unsafe because they don't know, right? Like, I mean, if I'm taking out a large sum of money, and then the person behind me knows how much money I have and has seen where I put it in my bag or in my pocket,
Mm.
that could be a reason. And like the simple solution was that we drew a yellow line like the airport,
Right.
right? So the person behind you has to leave space.
Hmm.
Okay, and our scores went back up. Okay, so this was a very, I mean, AI can tell you a pattern. And AI can probably decode the language in which the survey was done. So if a customer is saying something, they may be saying feeling unsafe, whatever, right? I mean, AI can probably give you some read on that pattern, but I don't think today AI can yet replace the fact that I went down there to make an observation.
Indeed, I can say that because AI can tell you the pattern. Still, the way the solution, bring up
Correct.
here in this scenario, it's about observation and understanding what is going on the field.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
and yeah, it's true. It's somehow I can relate to it. What is the life cycle of customer experience or customer focused? Like how we can build that culture?
Okay, so this is a very interesting and very important question also. Um, Ideally, the life cycle follows the customer's life cycle with the product, right? Right from when they're searching for a product to how they sign up for it or they, purchase it, to what happens immediately after that purchase. Are they getting the support they need to, if it's, for example, a life insurance product, they 1 year later they may need to renew it, right? And then so on until end of life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the case of a consumer good, okay, or even a luxury product, the life cycle could include things like warranties, replacements, repairs, right? So anything that the customer experiences in their life with the product would come under the purview of customer experiences. Essentially means that customer experience acts almost as a consultant to other operational teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a team that's doing the sales, you have a team that's managing the onboarding, you have a team that's managing customer servicing, you have a team that's doing repairs and renewals, whatever it is, right? And then customer experience team either helps them to identify patterns within their data sets, okay, or helps the organization by looking at all of this data in coherence, in concert across the customer's life cycle, and says, okay, look, across the journey of the customer, this is where there's a dip, this is where customers are feeling unhappy, this is where we probably need to improve, or like, why is everything steady state, and why can't we build something that's so disruptive that we completely delight the customer at 1 2 3 points. So it basically spans the life cycle of the product with the customer.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, is there any milestones like a company can see, like, okay, this customer, for example, a customer come and understand my product, use my product, and enter the funnel of customer experience service. Then there should be one or two or three milestones, like, okay, this is the thing, yeah, this customer is now loyal, and we can pitch them or upsell them. Then second milestone. So any three milestones you want to share?
Depends on the industry and the product, really.
Yeah, in general perspective.
General perspective, the first and most obvious milestone is the time of purchase.
Time of
Right? Whether it is in store, whether it is online, whether it is an application form that the customer is filling up, it really depends on the product. But at the time of purchase, if the customer is happy, it's an opportunity for you to cross sell or upsell something. Correct? You just have to be able to identify that the customer is happy.
very
Right?
complicated, but yeah.
Yeah, yes and no. Okay, today I think there's a fair amount of sophistication, so you can identify whether a customer is reasonably happy or not. It may not
Mhm.
indicate their willingness to purchase something else, but it can be an opportunity for you to pitch something.
Mhm.
Like a classic case of this is um, expiry offers that people give you at the time of purchase, like let's say a Mintra or a Swiggy. Like you will buy something and then they'll give you another offer that expires in 3 hours or 11 hours,
Right, right.
right? So they're encouraging a second purchase, correct? So this is, and they know you're happy because you've either filled in something or you have done an unusual transaction. So AI can help you understand that a customer is really like usually shops a certain way and now is shopping in a different way, and therefore it indicates that the customer is happier and so on, right? So there's now data that can help you real time understand that. Okay.
Right.
So the first most obvious touch point is the purchase touch point, and second is when somebody repurchases something. Okay, or in a product like life insurance, maybe the fifth renewal. Okay, so 5 years later, the customer is still paying up for a policy, indicates satisfaction, right?
True.
Because it's a very limited interaction product. Okay, so you might want to take a longer timeline, like 5 years, and then you say, okay, listen, this indicates that the customer is really happy. So here I can pitch something else, and so on, right? And the last opportunity is really end of life. Okay, it's something that a lot of companies don't focus on because they tend to think that customer is exiting at this point.
Yeah.
But I think there is a huge opportunity here, especially consumer goods, in terms of let's say Let me give you. Okay, so the automotive industry does this very well, right? You will get loyalty benefits if you sell a Maruti car and buy a Maruti car. You may have been thinking of buying a Hyundai, but if you're looking to end the purchase cycle with one product, uh, and you go back to like any Maruti dealer, they'll say, "Sir, we'll give you loyalty benefit."
Yes.
Right? So the automotive industry does this very well. There is opportunity for other industries to do this well as well. So I mean, there are so many options now. Companies should be encouraging customers to recycle their products,
Mm-hmm.
right? Technology products should be taken back, return reversed. There should be upcycling program available for clothing, for example, end of life of clothing, right?
Right.
It is an opportunity for repurchase, which companies don't really focus on, but I think is a very large opportunity given the amount of stuff we consume, right? So,
Right.
yeah,
It's
that's an
one
example.
good point you have mentioned, which is sustainability. I mean,
Yeah,
also taking care of environment.
yeah, yeah,
And that is a wonderful perspective you have shared. And
yeah.
so, like, Mira, I want to know from you, like, if we talk about customer culture, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and AI tools, any AI
Mm-hmm.
tools you know or you get to know, like now the industries are using to understand the data. So, anything you want to share on this?
So, I mean, there are a number of tools in use in the customer experience industry, but they're all sort of proprietary, right? So, I'm not taking names,
Mhm.
but generally, the industry is headed in the direction of prediction.
Right.
Okay. So, let me give you an example. So, earlier, what would happen, like this example that I just gave you of the bank and the teller and the yellow line and everything, right?
Mhm.
So, it is descriptive analytics used to be at one stage. So we would just say, okay, now it has gone up or down, the scores, right? Because I've been in CX since I think the beginning of CX in India and BFSI, right? So at one point, we were only required to say, listen, the numbers are going up or down. Now you figure it out. Okay. Then I went to diagnostic, like, why is it happening this way? Correct.
Okay.
uh, and we are able to look at and assign reasons for why certain numbers go up or down, etc., which are usually rooted in business instincts. The industry has now moved to predictive and prescriptive. Okay, so not only can platforms analyze data real time, it can also predict the outcome of those patterns. So if a number is going up or down, it can also tell you that, listen, you're going to lose 20% of your customers from this bucket, and these are the strategies you should take to retain them.
Wow.
Okay, so I am aware of tools which are slowly moving. So earlier, what used to just be a number dashboard,
Mhm.
then became, like a descriptive dashboard. It used to tell, and diagnostic dashboard. It used to say what were the regressive, there used to be like, what were the reasons for impact. Okay, what were the things that were, so there would be analysis done, and how much of an impact does this factor have, etc. And now it has become, okay, now here's a churn predictor, here's a loyalty index. Okay, and these are the 20% of customers who, these are the customers who you're likely to
Mhm.
lose, and here customer service team, you should outcall them. So it's reaching that sort of phase. um, there are some companies in the market that are competing at this level today, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because the more sophisticated the dashboards become, potentially it also means that more people in the organization need to be able to use that dashboard for it to be effective.
Right.
Earlier, CX was the domain of, say, three people out of, I don't know, 7,000, right? Now, everyone needs to be a customer experience expert, because otherwise those actions won't happen. So slowly, I think it's going in the right direction for the customer, and it'd be interesting to see how this all turns out.
Yeah, I mean, when I see these kinds of dashboards where data, calibration, articulation, and everything means analysis, forecasting is very fast. And due to AI and these technical technologies, it's becoming too fast and too sometimes too accurate as well. Um, Here, one concern which I usually have is like customer, when we see data, now also in marketing line, people use data to run ads. It means if someone, I see something and then AI is listening me and that kind of ad come into picture. So, and then customer focus, like customer service, anyone call me and say, okay, this is in your bucket list. Yeah, you are not purchasing it, like something. So it's like a control over the customer.
Mm.
It's I mean, if such AI is becoming powerful, then it's a very control over customer that every time it's like camera lens on us, and we are like maybe there are some strategies that push customer to purchase. It's not like, yeah, it's like customer will that the customer is purchasing. Still, there is a that kind of concern I always have. Maybe you are understanding what I'm saying.
Yes. So you're right, Shweta. Unfortunately or fortunately, the amount of data that we've already given away
Yes.
about ourselves, right? It's too late now. Okay. You have you have installed softwares on your mobile, and you're communicating with almost all the people that you know through certain platforms, right? And we have basically given away all our data
Mm-hmm.
for convenience. So we have done that trade-off already,
Mm-hmm.
right? And essentially, that data can be used. The velocity and volume of that data is insane, right? It's only a question of what analytics is being applied on that data. You're absolutely right that we are being nudged into purchasing more,
Right.
right? And I think this is also being exacerbated by social media. So this echo chamber that I talked about, I'm surrounded. My algorithm on some of these really popular platforms just keeps repeating to myself what I believe in,
Right.
right? And it shows me relevant what it thinks are relevant things from people who are like me,
Yes.
right? I don't ever see a different point of view.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm validated and revalidated in my choices
Hmm.
because of these algorithms, right?
Right.
And because what the internet is showing me, correct? And that is a reality. Okay, I think as consumers, slowly, okay, we ourselves need to think about how to make sanity for ourselves, because I don't think that capitalism is going to do it for us, right?
True.
Uh, and I think we need to be conscious of the choices we make. Okay, there are ways to do it, so you need to be aware of the data that you're giving away, the control that you're giving people over that data.
Mhm.
Okay, there is legislation on the way. Even the Indian government is now proposing the DPDP Act, and there is the Data Protection and Privacy Act, which is coming up, which will force corporations to, not just corporations, I think any entity that is collecting data, it will force it to, get consent from consumers, right? But all of this will not matter unless you're aware.
True.
Okay, and somewhere, someday down the line, it is a natural process. You go all in on something because you think of the incredible convenience that it is giving you, and then slowly you pull back and you realize that, oh, there are side effects after all, right? It happened with plastic, for example. I mean, the 90s saw huge plastic boom in India, and then now slowly, if you see, the more aware, educated circles are slowly pulling back and saying, no, how can we live a little more consciously, right? And this happens with everything. So even phones, screen time for children, phone usage, right? The need to disconnect, detox, protein, right? Some of these macro trends that you see in Indian society,
Right.
they're all coming from a place of a little more awareness.
Hmm.
And we have access to information today, so I think it's on us to be a little more aware of not just our data, but also what we're choosing to do, what we're choosing to purchase.
Wow, I think fascinating. It's like you have picked up the point, and I totally agree with you. How you make this very clear that it's about all about awareness. Everyone should be aware enough that we are in the this. It's too late, I know. Like still, that we have a chance to get back and understand our needs and customer focus and the cultures. These are the one of the pillar of a company who
Yeah.
can make it very smooth flow for any company. And you like I found Mira, like you have shared very innovative ideas around here. Like not general ideas. Like as you mentioned, like CEO should meet, and you have mentioned that team should be customer focused and customer themselves first to understand what mean by customer focused. I think your ideas are very innovative and very outside box. It's like very great to see. Like you also mentioned environment focused ideas as well, where you picked up one very important point, which is sustainability. How we should protect our environment, and this help to bring customer back only. You know that is wonderful idea. So another question which I want to ask you is, like leaders. and customers, like as a customer point of view, how I check and how I can complain about the customer focus team. For example, some companies and products I use, I like very good, their service is very good. But some companies, their service is not good. How I can complain, how I can get to them to help them build their customer team better. There should be a way for that as well, I guess.
Uh, Please just help me understand if I understood the question right.
Yes.
You're asking how you as Shweta can do it?
Yes, as a customer, how I
Huh.
can reach a company. I know there is a mail option, there is a message option, but the reply rate is very less, right? Some companies have very poor customer service experience. So
Hmm.
how I can reach out to them so that they understand, yes, I am your consumer of your product and service. I want to help you out to build your customer experience better. So these things I am facing.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, I have actually had success when I propose a solution.
Okay.
So I have in the past, I'm not naming names here, but I have in the past had poor experiences, and I've written to those organizations saying, "Why don't you do things this way?"
Right.
Okay, and I've always had a reply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, generic complaining, I don't think it typically gets just bucketed into a generic complaint. Okay, and by that I literally mean that a system will read your complaint.
Okay.
Okay, like or a tool or a platform will read your complaint.
Okay.
Earlier it used to be done by humans, now it's being done by platforms,
Right.
and we'll say, okay, this customer is unhappy in a generic kind of way, right? uh, they're not saying what they're unhappy about.
Uh-huh.
Okay, uh, or even if they're saying what they're unhappy about, especially if the complaint is something that comes in over and over again, right,
Uh-huh.
then you just get bucketed along with all those other customers who have the same complaint.
Okay. Uh-huh.
For example, if Shweta, you are complaining about, let's say, long queues, okay, at a purchase counter at, say, a retail store, and the company gets this very often. Okay, somewhere in the company, somebody's working on it. I'm not saying that the company doesn't care.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Okay,
Uh-huh.
somewhere in the company, someone is working on shortening those queues, on shortening your waiting time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but um, they've already categorized you with 150 other people. So they don't have to respond to you separately, right? They
Right.
just, in their heads, they think, okay, when we solve that problem, her problem will also get solved,
Uh-huh.
right? So they don't respond to every individual then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they'll say, oh, yeah, hame to pata hai. We know that this problem is there. We're fixing it. It'll get fixed next month, right? So then her problem won't exist anymore. Right, so you just get categorized into the generic bucket. The only way that I've had success in getting companies to actually respond to me as an individual is when I have given them suggestions for that individual problem. So I say, listen, if I was in the waiting line here, okay, and I waited for 20 minutes, up till here it's a generic complaint. Probably 40 other people also felt the same way that day, right? And they'll say, Acha, yeah, there was a sale, so that's why. Okay. But if I say that, listen, on sale days, why don't you redesign your queues to be horizontal instead of vertical?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And why don't you put benches here, here, and here? Or why don't you add more aisle, matter? Then I've had responses. Because they say, oh, yeah, great, thank you for your suggestion. Okay. I don't know if they can implement it. Maybe not. It really depends on the intent and like investment and other plans and whatever else is in the pipeline for the organization. But they do circle back.
Mm-hmm.
So a good way to get noticed is to actually provide the solution.
I mean, it's a wonderful idea, wonderful solution, I can say, where when you structure in a proper manner and you get noticed, they
Yeah,
circle back to you, understanding, yeah, this person is genuinely want to help or genuinely want to share what
correct.
they have in their mind. Amazing. Okay, like if we talk about, like, you also work as a coach, right?
Mhm.
So can you tell me more, tell us more about your coaching journey?
My coaching journey just started, to be honest.
Yeah. So.
I just completed my certification about a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
And my aim is to actually mentor women in the corporate workplace.
Mhm.
So I intend to specialize in that field, and I have begun my coaching journey. So I have some clients, etc. The reason I think this is very, very important is because in my 17 or 18 years of corporate experience, I found that um, diverse teams, okay, and I'm starting with gender diversity, but any kind of diversity really, background, socioeconomic, religious, age, okay, ability, right? Any kind of diverse team
Mm-hmm.
generally comes up with more innovative solutions,
Okay.
okay, because they're all coming at the same problem from different points of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have always felt that so gender diversity is just a place to start, and also because I am a woman, a cis woman, and I'm from the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt that we needed a more of a helping hand in navigating work life, particularly when it comes to being first time managers, when it comes to women who are juggling sort of big life responsibilities, getting married, having children. In India, the burden still lands on the woman, right? And she's expected to do both very, very well. In fact, she's expected to do everything perfectly. Be the perfect bahu, be the perfect wife, be the perfect employee, be the perfect manager, right? So I think women just generally need a little bit of help when it comes to that, and that's why I want to focus on coaching women in corporate.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
it's good to know that. I mean, coaching specifically, your niche is specifically for women in this, like helping
yeah,
them to understand their problems, to cope those problems, and
yeah,
to become better at their field. It's
yeah.
amazing. So if I talk about if you have any coach, like as a coach, you have any experience, you have worked with any client of yours, what kind of problem you resolve?
All kinds of problems, really, but mostly related to professional success.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Like any example you can give?
Personal. Yeah, without naming or talking about any particulars of the client. So basically, personal habits and your lifestyle lead to a certain persona at work as well. Who you are as a person obviously is one who you bring into work, right? And whether you want that person to be kinder, more customer focused, more successful, you want to gain a promotion, whatever it is, right? Or you want to change careers. This is the kind of thing that I can help you navigate. So you wanted an example. I recently was talking to someone who is feeling stuck at the place that she's currently working at, and is wondering, whether she should switch, move, go to another organization, etc. It's a common problem,
Yeah.
right? It's a very common problem. I'm sure all of us have faced this in our corporate careers, where you spend a couple of years in kind of a limbo and saying, okay, things will get better,
Right.
right? But the reality is that you don't know what you're aiming at. You're just waiting for something to land in your lap. You're
Mm.
waiting for a door to open, but you're not sure what direction to even face, right? Which door should you be facing is the question.
Right.
So yeah, that's a little bit about coaching and the kind
Wow.
of work I do there.
Related to this, I have one last question for you. Like how coaches and trainers can
Mm.
bring up customer focus in learning
Mm.
sessions, when they train and how they bring that kind of skill set in their
Yeah.
learning sessions.
So the biggest one is listening.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest skill that translates across customer focus and across coaching and mentoring is listening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think coaches and mentors are at their core active listeners,
Mm-hmm.
right? And are just people who are able to reframe perspectives. And that's exactly what someone working in customer experience needs to do as well. They just need to listen to the customer.
True.
Don't get defensive. Don't jump to solutions, right? Don't start solving,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just shut up and listen to what the customer is saying, right? Um, and like really, really peel back the layers to say, okay, what is the motivation? And am I tackling this problem at its root in such a way that it does not arise again? It's the same skill set, to be honest. So it's one of the reasons I went into coaching. It's because I really wanted to hone and refine that skill set. And I think training to become a coach does that beautifully.
Yes, I mean, active listening, the crucial part which you have covered, you picked up. Very
Yeah.
important. And next, which you have shared, is peeling the layers. I love that. I mean, active listening is one thing when you listen, when you understand, and then peeling and understanding core deep level, understanding the root issue, so that the leaves can, whatever the problem they are facing, we can help them resolve. Amazing. Mira, any one line or one message you want to share to the audience who is listening?
Uh, just that customer experience is not a function, it's a skill set. And there may be some people who are assigned to do it day in and out, but it's, I think, a crucial skill set for survival in today's day and age. So I would encourage everyone to kind of brush up on that skill.
How someone can learn this skill set? I'm curious.
So many ways. The first one, like I said, is being a consumer, being more aware,
Mhm.
and then using that awareness to start mentally creating those patterns, joining the dots. Why did someone do this? Why did I do this? Why are people behaving this way? So don't just consume, right? Stop for a second and think, why is it like this?
Mhm.
And this is a muscle. You have to keep exercising it, right? And you have to keep making those patterns and those connections. And you may sometimes be right, you may sometimes be wrong, but the more you exercise it, the better you'll get at it.
Yes. So if someone want to reach out to you, any social media handles you want to share here?
Actually, you can reach out to me directly on Mira at artofthematter.in. Um, and you can email me. I'm also available on LinkedIn. My profile will be shared in the comments below. But yeah, you can reach me through either LinkedIn or directly on email.
Thank you so much, Mira, for coming here and sharing your insight and perspective on customer focused, how we can build cultures. Those are more customer focused. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening this podcast. Hope you get lots of insights and lot of innovative ideas which you can implement in your journey. Looking forward, we are going to have more such exciting episodes ahead. Thank you so much, Mira.
Thank you so much, Shweta, for having me.